Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
I got the thumbs up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 2025 Library Board meeting. Call to order at 5:30. Item number 2, public appearances. No public appearances.
Nope.
Item number 3, approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the February 2025 draft minutes? Thank you, John. All right, so anything anybody has to note here? I would say they were good.
All right.
Cool. Okay, if nothing else, all in favor of approving the February 2025 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Item number 4, financial report. May I have a motion to approve the December 2024 financial register and overviews?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ann.
All right, a few things to point out. Not a lot, actually. Looking at December of last year, which is appropriate with the weather today. If you look in account 365 utilities, we have 2 bills. This is completely normal. We pay zero in January and twice in December. Happens every year, but it looks a little bit odd. You'll see that second bill was very high. It is going to just get higher in January, and then it has gone down a little bit. This is the same account that we had to do a budget amendment for 2024. We will be doing another one in 2025 for sure. Costs are just higher than expected. So I am watching our kilowatt hours very closely. And February was better than January, but we'll see how things turn out. On the overview, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So we just went through audit in the last 2 weeks, the city finance department did. So we will be bringing this back to you as a post-audit document probably next month. But a few things that we did switch around because of the budget amendments that we did. You'll see that the utility account is overspent quite a bit, almost $17,000. What we did was move $17,000 out of account 290 for service contracts. The service contract for the sorter, we thought would start in November of 2024, but really is starting in January of 2025. So we very luckily had the exact amount of money that we needed to move over. So that's great. So that will be reflected the next time you see this. A couple other things I wanted to point out is interest income. Just because this makes me happy, we budgeted 2,000 and we made 88,000. That's fantastic.
All right.
That'll go into fund balance, and we'll be able to use it for a future project. We're also watching that grand total, the pink box, which is what we expect to go into fund balance, and it's almost exactly the same amount. So this might be the first year that we've actually spent the entire budget. Generally, we have fund balance money to put into fund balance without that kind of an overage in revenue. So that's great, but it also shows that we really spent the whole budget this year, which I think is just kind of a sign of things getting tighter and tighter due to levy limits. Any questions about either document? Okay.
All right, if nothing else, all in favor of approving the December 2024 financial register and overview, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed and abstentions. Motion carries. Item number 5, unfinished business.
Never.
There is none. Item number 6, new business. All right, we've got several here. So starting with policy reviews under electronic services.
We need to change this, say digital services.
I was going to say, it's digital services now.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
This is Lisa Stivick. She is our digital services librarian, previously our electronic services librarian. So these, as you know, each of the managers has a section of the policies that we bring every year for review. I think you've all heard me say this 1,000 times, but it's important to me that the staff on the front lines be able to present a policy to a patron who may be arguing with it with a current approval date on it, so it isn't 12 years old. So that's why we do it. It also generally means that we don't have a lot of huge changes every year, so it is a faster process. So we've got a couple of things, but I'll let Lisa take it away.
Okay.
And we should do these separately, and we should approve them separately.
All right, should I get a motion for the first one then? All right, can I get a motion to approve the computer internet use policy?
I'll make that
I
motion.
make a motion.
All right. That's fine.
Thank you, Dr. Dang.
All right, Lisa, take it away.
Yes, so our computer and internet use policy, as you saw, we didn't have any changes this year. It covers the 36 computers that we currently have in the library for patrons. This helps cover, says we're not liable for anything patrons encounter on the internet. Make sure that patrons follow all applicable laws with regards to computers in a public space, as well as smaller things such as food not in the technology center, because we want to protect our equipment and that sort of thing, as well as designating certain areas for teens and children to be used by those respective ages. Does anyone have any questions about this policy?
We don't have any explicit time use policies, but does that ever like happen where people are just hogging the computers and we have to?
It used to happen all the time. So like typically in a public library, like I feel like we used to, when the internet was brand new, we had like an hour at a time. And we've slowly been extending it. I think we're at 4 hours now?
So we have it, yeah, it's 2, and we can always extend it for patrons as long as there's available computers for people to use.
So many people these days bring in their own devices that I don't think I've ever seen all of our computers.
I don't think I have either, but just curious.
Yeah, this used to be a real thing, and I think that every now and again we have a little discussion amongst South Central libraries about like why do we limit it to that? Like maybe we don't care anymore. We used to be, I think, also less generous with guest passes. Like we really wanted you to have a card, and I think that we've sort of eased up on that. Like it's just not really an issue anymore. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't think there needs to be any strict limits either, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting change over time.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? So it looks like the only change then is just the date.
Yep, just have the update date pending approval.
All right. If nothing else from anybody, all in favor of approving the computer and internet use policy, say aye.
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 Opposed and abstentions? Nope. All right, thank you, everyone. Motion carries. All right, item 6A sub 2, wireless access policy. Can I get a motion to approve the wireless access policy?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ann.
All right, so in a similar vein to our computer access, this is our wireless access policy. So this helps cover, as Wendy mentioned, a lot of patrons bring in their own devices, letting patrons know that we have an open Wi-Fi, so anything that occurs on that network we're not really responsible for. Saying it's not secure. It has varying strength, but we're pretty good coverage overall. But Does anyone have any questions about this one?
I don't don't have a question, but I think there was just a very small typo under the disclaimer, the second to the last paragraph. I think it should be the Fitchburg Public Library's participation in social media instead of just Fitchburg Public Library's participation. So just adding a the to start the sentence.
Is that the social media policy?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think you're one ahead
Oh,
of us.
we're on the wireless access policy, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh, no, not a problem.
I wrote read ahead.
You're prepared, I like it.
Terrible. Sorry.
No, not at all.
Save that thought for just a minute.
Yes.
Okay, if nothing else, all in favor of approving the wireless access policy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, item number 3, the social media policy. Can I get a motion to approve the social media policy?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Dr. Dang.
Okay, so this is our social media policy. So the library has social media accounts, so this is covering our participation in those sort of open forums on the internet. So we have a minor change here under the purpose where we have taken out our LinkedIn reference in there because we don't have that LinkedIn account anymore. We had an old one when we were teaching patrons how to use it in class format, and we discontinued use of that. So we're just taking that out. This covers all our social media platforms. Predominantly, we use Facebook, if you guys are familiar with our social media platforms. We're also, this goes in with the city's social media policy, which is why we kind of have it locked down, because enabling comments and that kind of thing creates an open forum, which
Yes.
is,
That was something we put into place. For those of you that are new, we put that into place, years ago now, and it was based on the advice of our insurance provider, that once you create an open forum, you can't delete comments, you can't, if they're use foul language, they say terrible things, you have to let them stand. And so their advice was to lock this down. I think we were super mad about it at the time. And now we don't mind it at all. I wouldn't have predicted that, but that's how the world has gone. So just so that everybody understands why that is.
okay. Does anyone have any questions about this policy? Just the.
Just the.
Okay.
The. Wait,
Yes, that is good. So under the disclaimer, where it says Fitchburg Public Library's participation, it's like second to last line.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good one. Thank you.
That is a good, yes, thank you.
Always good.
All right, so we will add that in there for sure.
Okay.
Can
All
I
right.
just ask a question?
Absolutely.
So you were talking about how the library does not allow comments on any of their social media. Does the post itself, does that constitute, like, does that fall under open records laws? Like,
Yes, so we
Okay.
do have an archival process on the back, so our city IT has an archival software that they use that archives all that information for us.
perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Good question.
that is a good question.
Okay. If nothing else, all in favor of approving the social media policy, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 4, 3D printer policy. Can I get a motion to approve the 3D printer policy? Thank you, John.
All right, so this is our 3D printer policy. It covers our 3D printing services. So if you're all aware, the library has a 3D printer that we allow patrons to submit their files for me to print out for them. This just covers use of that equipment, mainly saying that patrons don't have access to the printer itself, can't print anything illegal or under copyright, that sort of thing. It's been working really well. This has actually increased in popularity recently, which I didn't anticipate, but it's great. It's good to have this to reference whenever anyone has questions.
We recently, yeah.
Question on first item A, the prohibited by local, state, and federal law. So if I were like a user, and don't know what those things are, like how do does it list right by the printer?
It does not. So usually people will contact me, we'll take a look at the file, and then I will let them know depending on whether it falls within this policy or not.
Generally, this is gonna apply to weapons.
Yes.
So if someone is trying
Yeah,
to.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, like
Yeah.
if I were a teen, coming to the library and I was printing,
Yeah.
how does the process work? Like what stopped me from doing that?
So all the files have to be submitted to me personally, so patrons can't
Okay.
print themselves. So yes, so I'm kind of that in-between point. So I take care
Yeah,
of
so,
that.
so this is not out on, the
Yeah.
floor for the public to just use freely. The first 3D printers that we had were open on the sides, and they get very hot and they're dangerous, and so we didn't want anyone sticking their hands in there, and so we just started this way. The current one has sides, but it just really works better the way it is.
I had a,
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I know you've got a phrase in there that would preclude making weapons. But what are people making?
Oh, they make all sorts of things. So we have one patron in particular who does a lot of biochemistry. Like I think she has a doctorate. So she has like all these things for different vials. I don't understand it because I'm not a biochemist. I don't understand it. But like for vials or like holding flasks or vials and those kinds of things. All kinds of stuff. Someone made like a plant that like it looks like a plant, but it's coasters. So the leaves are coasters off of there. So people have all sorts of great ideas in there. It's super fun.
We recently had someone print out quite a number of items, and then went to pick them up at the Fitchburg, Massachusetts library. And so we shipped them to him.
Yes.
oh, that was
We
fun.
shipping costs and got them to him anyway because it was quite a number of pieces.
Yes.
So is there a charge for this service?
There is, yes.
Okay. I see in item 4 that it says unless there's mechanical failure, patrons are expected to pay. Is it possible, would it help to say that there's a charge for all printing, 3D printing projects more clearly, like, so people know right ahead, like, there's a charge for this. It's not, it seems a little hidden to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that would be
Put
great.
that in the forefront and then say
Yeah.
except for.
Exactly, except
Okay.
for. And then the other thing I had was, and I'm sure our patrons would never do this, but if they have a request that needs to be done immediately, there's nothing here that says you need like 48 hours to review requests or something like that. And I'm wondering if that would help protect you. What if you're out, or what if you're?
And we have had people think that we can turn stuff around.
Faster than we can.
Right, if it's we're also limited by how many hours we're here. Like
Exactly.
17-hour print, like we can try to run it when we're not here.
Right, because it
Yeah.
takes a while for it to print out.
It does.
And so maybe just to
Yes.
protect you guys.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if we don't add that as a number 5.
Okay.
Like library hours or whatever,
Yeah, that we.
within the library hours and.
I think we'd probably say something along the like 3 to 5 business days.
Sure.
Like printing can take up to 3 to 5 business days depending on.
Right, and you need time to review the request.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Good call.
Yep. Also, because Lisa is the guru of all of this, and we have done things without her, but not well. So, and she gets to take vacation and sick day, so like we should give her.
I'm not
some-
always in the office,
Right.
yes. I do
Right.
appreciate that.
Yep. Excellent. All right, so with with changes, we need to accept it. So I think the motion just needs to be,
Motion to approve with amendments.
I think we just say accept with
Adjusted changes, yeah.
with suggested changes, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, anything else? Got some good discussion on that one? Okay, all in favor of approving the 3D printer policy with the suggested changes, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Good discussion. Thank you, guys. All right, and on to item 6A, number 5, meeting room policy. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting room policy? I'll move.
Okay, perfect. So this is our meeting room policy. It is one of our longer policies. I apologize for that. But this covers both this room in particular and the conference room across the hall. These rooms are available and open to the public during library hours to request reservations for their own purposes. So this is covering all those regulations that apply to these rooms. This has been worked a lot throughout the years, so we've done a lot of work on this, and it covers almost everything that we need. We do have a couple items that we noted for some smaller changes. So under scheduling, number 5, the third bullet point, we added that meetings, including takedown, must end by the library's closing time. Every once in a while, people have a meeting until 8 o'clock, and then it's harder to get them to start taking stuff down and remind them that we do have to have the building secured by 8 o'clock. So this is just to kind of help clarify that for people when they're making their reservations.
Yeah.
Then the other one we have under number 6, use of facilities. So we added this a couple years ago, I believe, under specifying what it means to leave the room in the condition it was found. So we've had some issues with the wording that we have here for taking trash out of these rooms, relining the bins. We're just trying to clarify what we expect here. Yep, so rather than saying it's either perishable or overflowing, we really want patrons, when it contains any sort of food waste or is over half full, to take it out, just to make sure it's ready for the next group who comes in.
Many people seem to think that coffee with cream in it is not perishable. And it is.
It is.
And
So we're just trying to make it a little clearer because
Yeah.
patrons can be understandably confused, so then we have to further clarify. So this kind of helps up front.
Yep. I mean, you know, we have a full-time custodian, and we have Kevin that can keep an eye on it when they're here, but these rooms are used in the evenings and weekends, and for stuff to sit here for 2 days is not good.
And we have a lot of times where meetings will like butt up to each other, so we don't
Yeah.
have time to like go in between and make sure. So,
Yep.
Question on the scheduling.
Yes.
You mentioned the meeting should end by the time the library closed. Do you want that to be like 15 minutes before the library closed, just so you give yourself enough time?
So we have talked about that for years, and the sense of, I think most of the adult services staff is that we'll lose a lot of groups. So we used to be open till 9, and they could stay till 9, and then we backed our closing to 8. So I think that this is kind of our last ditch effort to put this in, to say that it has to include takedown time. And if this doesn't work, then I think we
probably will move on to that.
Closing reservations at 7:45. Yeah,
Okay,
so we're
sounds
moving
good.
in that direction. I hope we don't get there, but who knows?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that was a good
For sure.
suggestion. Thank you.
All right. And then the last one is just the changing the date, pending approval. Yeah, does anyone have any other questions about the meeting room policy?
Okay, if no other questions. All in favor of approving the meeting room policy, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
You are free to go unless you would like to present the annual report.
I think I will go be on desk. Thanks for the offer, though.
I had to try.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Okey doke. Item 6B under new business. 6B, yeah, 6B. Annual review of DPI report. So this has already been signed.
We don't need a motion.
I didn't think so.
This is not an action item. This is the annual report. In January, the board voted to allow Patrick to sign this so that we could get it submitted on time, and that did happen, so thank you for that. But I do want you to always see this every year, because this is a document that says that you guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm just going to run through it real quick. You'll notice that there are a lot of numbers in here that sort of look like the numbers that you see in the statistical report that we give you every month, but they don't match exactly. And this is a report that goes to the Department of Public Instruction and then goes on to the IMLS, Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, and they just ask for very specific cuts of numbers. So I always say that it slices and dices things a little bit differently than we do for our own daily use. So some of them just don't match exactly, but they are accurate. They're all accurate, just in different ways. The first page is very basic, just has our basic information, the number of hours that we're open. Hours of operation is a Dane County standard, so that is one of the things that we have to meet, and we are. Moving on to the second page, library collection. So we have to report how many items we own. This used to be a Dane County standard, but as of this year, it is no longer. So that was a number that was increasing every year for us based on our population. I made an argument, and other people agreed with me, that because we're going so much in the digital realm, that counting the physical things is not necessarily what we need to look at. So as you see, we have 110,000 items in the collection. I think clearly the building could hold more than that, but typically in libraries, when you stuff the shelves full of things, everything checks out less. So not necessarily a good thing. If you look down at library services, you'll see we checked out 293,000 items. That was about 3% lower than last year. I think that's partly due to it being down everywhere, but also that Oregon opened a new library, so they went up by 20-25%. So I think it's only expected. They took a very similar hit when we opened, so kind of works itself out, I think. I also wanted to point out in the interlibrary loans, so items loaned, provided to, and received from, this is LinkCat, so this is what we're sending out to people and what we're receiving in from people. It's good that they're fairly close to each other. It's also kind of nice that we're sending out more, like it means good things about our collection. Moving down, you'll see e-book content circulation, so a total of 75,000. So that is climbing all the time, but it is not close to what we're doing in physical checkouts yet. I think that's always sort of interesting to see. Library visits is up, so that 155,000. That is partly due to the fact that we have really accurate door counting software now. So we had a half a year of kind of the old, we did a survey week and this is what we found out, and maybe it's accurate with the security gates and maybe it's not, to a half of a year of very accurate counting. So I expect it will be up again next year because of that. So happy about that. Moving along, programs are on the next page. So total attendance at in-person programs for kids. On-site, wait, how does this go? Sorry, this looks totally different than when I fill it out online. When they do it to print out, it changes everything. But the program numbers are good. I think they're up from last year. So no complaints there. We always want more, but not unhappy with where we are. Then you'll see your information on the next page because you have to be listed. And then we go into operating revenue. So this should look fairly similar to what you see in the finance report, except that they want us to pull certain things out. So they asked us to pull out contracts that we have, so they just split it into a little bit different categories than we do. But it all comes from the finance report. And it is unaudited, and we just all have to be okay with that because of the timing of the report. And then we list all of our positions and what they are paid. And so we're at 19.56, so this is another of the Dane County standards. This is one that I am very concerned about, that we are about to run up against. So when I started at Fitchburg, there were 25,000 residents. We are now up to 35,125, I think, and it's growing all the time. Our minimum FTE, we do get to include an FTE allowance for the administrative fee that we pay to the city. So we get a credit for paying for the HR and finance and some other staff at the city. That's 1.31. We get a 1.0 credit for the sorter, and we get 1.25 credit for the self-check machine. So the actual total that we report to Dane County is a little over 23. That is climbing every year with the population growth. We saw a higher than usual growth because of the town of Madison absorption, but then the year after, when we thought it was going to go back down a little bit, it didn't. So this is growing faster than we expected. I'm working on some spreadsheets to predict how fast it's going to go, working with the planning and zoning department to get some updated projections to see how fast this has to grow. This does mean, I think, that we're going to have to try to add at least a 0.5 FTE going into next year's budget, which is going to be very challenging financially. But I think, if we miss standards 3 years out of 10, then we're looking at paying the library tax, which in 2011 was like $1 million. So it's not an option not to meet the standards. So that's just something to keep in mind. I won't dwell on it. You'll hear plenty about that as we go into budget. Okay, moving on to the next page. We talk about library loans to non-residents, so you'll see adjacent county numbers here. We do get reimbursed for service to adjacent counties at a 70% rate, I think. We did just get the numbers for the coming year, and it's down about $3,000, which is disappointing. It really just depends on use. I always joke that if you have a large family or a homeschooling family in Greene County that moves out of Greene County and all of a sudden is going somewhere else, that can really knock your numbers off. So something we'll have to think about. Then you go into self-directed activities, which I believe should be in the programming section, but for some reason is not. So that is summer reading program, self-directed. We do scavenger hunts down in the youth area, so that's just a different kind of programming. And then we go into the part that I always talk about, when the reason that we approve the finance report and that you see every expenditure that we make is that because here we have to say that the library board has had exclusive control of the expenditure of all monies collected, donated, or appropriated. So this is really just a protection for the library so that the city can't spend our money statutorily. So, and a whole bunch of other things. So you're saying that I'm here 10 hours a week and then I'm certified, which is all true, that we're open at least 20 hours a week. This is all kind of standard stuff. And as a library of our size, it's very easy for us to meet all of these. So no worries there. And then they do ask us every year if we feel like our system is providing us with adequate services, and we do. So that's the whole report. Who has questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, for data of patrons and circulation on the back end, analytically, I'm sure you see that in terms of breakdown of, for example, age group of people who check out material, or male versus females and things like that. Do you see that?
We don't really track that. We see more of like children's materials, how many youth books check out, but we don't generally track any kind of demographics.
Okay, so in general, would that something that would be helpful in terms of, I don't know, programmings, or even in terms of predicting, who use the library most and who have less access to library?
Yeah, I think I would be nervous to do that with circulation data just for privacy reasons. But I do believe that the door counting software we have now will do things by height. So we can probably look at kids versus.
Then I will be shy forever.
No, it's AI. It knows more than that. Yeah, so we could look at that. I also think just program attendance, kind of anecdotal information from the staff. We do also twice a year do a survey week on reference questions. So we're collecting how many questions are being asked at each of the service points. So I feel like we could break things out that way a little bit. I do think also as we look into data collection for the strategic plan, we will look at card holders. So how many kids have cards, how many adults have cards. I don't know that I want to link that to checkout information, again, for privacy reasons. But yeah, there's certainly some ways that we can look at that.
Yeah, because I'm just curious about when we talk about access to the library, right? And population that we need to reach out to, and senior citizen or youth of colors and things like that. How do we know?
And I think some of that will come out of the demographic research that we do for the strategic plan, which is starting up right now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then my second question is in relation to your additional FTE. In terms of what's the formula like, and when you get to request that, do they look at, like number of residents moving into Fitchburg, or in combination of number of circulation, or how does that work?
So we take our actual population, which is 35,125, and we multiply it times 0.0006, and that is the factor, so that as the population number increases, the FTE increases. It maxes out at 25, which is something I think we knew but hadn't really applied until we did a spreadsheet that was predicting out by every 2,000 increase. So we are closer to that than I thought we were. So I'm slightly less panicked about the FTE situation than I was a week ago. I met with the finance director to talk about, like, I think technically we would meet standards for this year without adding something, but I feel like we'd then have to, like, in a hurry add, like, we're eventually going to need 2 FTE, and I don't want to try to add 2, like, we are barely going to be able to afford, if we can, a 0.5. So I think sort of easing into it is the way to go. But yeah, it's based on the actual population, which is tricky because we get an estimated population from the Department of Administration in January, but they don't finalize it until October, and it's for the year that you're already in. So it's like the year is already passed before you even know what you're aiming for, which is something I think I might have talked to somebody about now that we're in the situation that we are. Doesn't make sense to me. But yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions?
We talked a little bit about, if, excuse me, if we use the data, but have you seen DPI use this data to do anything? Like, what do they do with it?
So they do put this online so that we can see it, and we can see other libraries. So you can compare yourself to other municipalities of your size. We will definitely be doing that with a strategic plan. Yeah, because we tend to just compare ourselves to the libraries that are close to us, and definitely Dane County, but also South Central. But like we're of vastly different sizes and locations, and like everybody's kind of got their own thing. So it can be helpful. I know the last strategic plan, we were comparing ourselves to, I think, Oak Creek up by Milwaukee, like some other things around the state. So it was just interesting to see. Yeah. So they do, and they do have. And I should print this out for you at some point, but they do have like once it's done, which this is not yet. I mean, it's been submitted, but I don't think they're finalized. You can print out like a brochure that kind of does an infographic about some of the stuff in here that's interesting.
Yeah.
It happened so far after the fact that I forget that it even exists. But yeah, that would be something.
Yeah, I was wondering if like DPI does anything with it. So they offer that ability to compare yourself to other libraries across the state, but do they go to the legislature and say,
I'm sure they do.
Need more money because XYZ?
Sure. So like as they are asking the governor to increase the biennium budget, absolutely, I'm sure they're using numbers from here. Ultimately, it goes to IMLS, who is making a case at the national stage, especially now. Which is what you had
emailed us about.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what's under fire right now with the executive order. But that is who. So every library in the country is doing some form of this report, and they're using it all together. Okay. So yeah. So it is used. It's hard to see exactly how. Yeah.
If we had to get another FTE, what would they even do? Like, are we understaffed anywhere?
Yeah, so we had a really good discussion today at a manager's meeting about that, about how do we get the most bang for our buck? Mm-hmm. I think we're fairly good for desk coverage, but I think that we could always be doing more programming and more outreach.
Sure.
So I think the logical place for this position to sit is in adult services. They are one body short of the other departments, so when they have someone out sick or on vacation, it's hard to cover. So I think that's where they would live, but we've talked about making it a floater position so it can work in all three departments, which everybody does. We cross-train all the staff. But then, we've got the hub opening, and I think Minda will be doing some programming up there, and I don't know that I want her up there alone. It's not going to be a staffed building, so having another person,
Sure.
either this person is doing outreach or in the building to free up other people to go out and do outreach.
Okay.
So I think that's where we're leaning right now, but there will be discussion. This will get submitted as part of the budget. I think it has to be submitted in June or July. So you'll definitely see it before we get to that point. But let me be clear, this has to fit into our budget, and the city is not paying for it. Like, we're going to have to make it fit somewhere. So that's why I met with the finance director to talk about, like, how is there anything that we could be doing, allocating better, that kind of thing. So we have a couple of small ideas. I don't know that it's going to, levy limits are really, coming down and hurting everybody, and it's finally been 10, it's been 15 years now. Like, I think everybody's finally realizing sort of the impossibility of functioning this way when all of your expenses are going up and your increase is so small. So, but also the referendum didn't pass, and so the city doesn't have extra money to do anything with either. So this is going to be a hard budget year for sure.
So what would those, cuts elsewhere look like? Would that be less circulation, fewer new books? Do we have any idea of what would?
No. So I will say one of the standards that we didn't talk about in here is the collection expenditure. Mm-hmm. So we also have a standard. So we currently spend $185,000 a year on books, and that is meeting the standard, but probably won't by the time we get to 37 or 39,000 people. Yeah. And that one increases kind of quickly over as you get up to. I just ran it out to 49,000 and decided I would retire at 50 because. What to do with that point? We'll see if I really mean that or not. So a lot of libraries, when they get into financial trouble, you take money out of your collection budget, and it's sad, but it works. But we can't do that, which is a protection that Dane County has put into place to make sure that we don't have to do that, except that we don't have a lot of other options. The things that I'm looking at are that 240 account that is work done by others. If we had something terrible happen that we needed to fix in the building, we could probably do a budget amendment and take it out of fund balance. I don't feel like that's a responsible way to do it. It's not how I would prefer to do it, but that is somewhere that, but that's $20,000. I don't know how far that will get us. So
not an FTE.
We have been squeezing every account for years. Don't feel like there's any obvious place where we've got money here. I think because of the interest income that has been so much higher, we'll be allowed to budget more than $2,000 there. I tried to make a case for averaging the last 2 years and budgeting like 88. That didn't fly.
Can we not
for
use
obvious reasons?
The 10-year treasury rate or anything like that?
No, I think we will. We have an endowment with the Madison Community Foundation, and we are always offered the interest, and I have always said no because I just wanted it to grow, but I think we'll take that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. This is going to be a real piecemeal, $500 here, there,
Sure.
$1,000 there. So don't worry, you'll all be here for it.
Can't wait.
And won't.
Hi, Wendy.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
In terms of getting in the future additional bodies or FTE for the library and, with funding and such, are there creative things that can be done with the library science people at the university in terms of, I don't know, make up a practicum or...
We do host practicum students.
I want to say free labor.
but we can't count, if we're not paying them, we can't count that as an FTE.
I know, but so if in case we don't have money for additional help, I'm just thinking, are there creative ways to get help into the library that also help to educate others, but also you get used out of them?
And we do that already. We have practicum students from the program. It's actually a lot of work, so it actually creates more work for our staff than it helps us get work done. So I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, I would be willing to help you supervise. If you ever need free labor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Well,
So we don't need a motion on
no
that. Excellent.
motion
We
there,
move
yep.
along.
All right, fun stuff. 6C, the 2026 CIP discussion. I imagine this is also not a motion. Yep.
I don't have much to report. So we talked last time about the children's library being the next project that we do in 2026. I did meet with the president of the Friends of the Library, Lois, and talked about the potential of the Friends supporting that project. I think they, without more information, I'm going to go to their meeting in April and discuss it, but we won't have probably enough actual information for them. So what I am doing is just putting a line in the CIP that says potential of some of the funding coming from the Friends. I'm just going to budget it out of our fund balance. I'm putting in $30,000 for carpet replacement out of the CIP that we have with for building maintenance with the Public Works Department. I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not. Kevin and I are arguing about whether that carpet needs to stay or go. So I think that they will be interested in putting some money into, especially the decoration part of that project. But it's our process is just too far out for them to commit a certain dollar amount. So we'll just end up spending less, which will be fine. So I'm not worried about that. But that's all I have to update. Did I say last time? So the van was, I just keep pushing back the self-checks in the van for replacement. So we had self-checks in for this year, and we pushed it back, and I'm going to push it back another year. That's all. Any questions about CIP?
Can I just ask for some context?
Yeah,
I wasn't here
absolutely.
before.
Yes.
But what is the motivation behind the children's redesign?
So this year we're doing the second floor, right, because we are getting rid of the tech center because it's underutilized. We're also trying to make a view out that side of the building because this side is going to change. With the children's, we're really trying to draw, so the cross-municipal, cross-township formula where we would get money from the county. We have a lot of Fitchburg residents going to Verona, and I think a lot of it is children's, and they have a castle that everybody loves, and so I think we need to be more competitive in that area and make it more of a destination for families. So there definitely is some worn furniture that needs to be done, so we'll do that, but I think a lot of it is going to go towards just making it a more fun, engaging space.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, should be good. I'm excited for it.
So how did you learn that Fitchburg children were going to the Verona Library?
There is a very large spreadsheet that tracks every library in Dane County and so when you check out, they know what you have something called what is it on your card? PSTAT, yes. Mm-hmm. So that knows, so you can put your home library for pickup anywhere you want it, but your PSTAT is your address and it never changes. So we get a report that says how many checkouts there were from Fitchburg residents for all of the libraries, but our biggest problem is Verona.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I mean, but we have a lot of other people that come here, which is great, but not enough to offset.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Excellent.
Okay. Anything else? Item 60, choose nominating committee. Is this a motion? Can I get a motion to approve the nominating committee?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ann.
So we need 3 people to be on the nominating committee. So we have our offices are president, vice president, treasurer, and we need a group of 3 people to decide who the officers will be, and we'll vote on that at the May meeting.
Sure. Any volunteers? I can be one.
Thank you. Who's going to help Patrick?
I'll do it.
Thank
I'll
you.
do it.
So we need one more, Patrick and Dang. Ann is exempt because she won't be here at the May meeting, and so is Jim.
We're going to draw straws.
I can do it.
Thank you,
Right.
Mariah.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
Okay, so I guess I need a motion to approve that.
Yes.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the choice for the nominating committee of myself, Dr. Dang, and Mariah? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Asked for a motion and then went to the vote. Okay, what's next? I think that's everything under new business. Item number 7, President's Report. Thank you, Rachel, for joining. We're happy to have you here. Usually the meetings aren't this involved, so here you're getting right into the thick of it. And thank you everyone else who showed up despite the disgusting weather.
Yes.
And we appreciate you guys on Zoom too. Nothing else from me.
Okay.
Item number 8, Library Director Report. Is that 8?
All right, a couple of things. I don't think I have anything to illuminate about library statistics. February is a shorter month. Remember that, because the numbers are a little bit lower, but that's typical. Facilities. We now have an EV charger that has been installed in the parking garage for city vehicles. I think we will eventually have 2. There was talk about 4, I think 2 chargers and 4 vehicles. So right now we are housing a building inspection vehicle and a admin fleet vehicle.
Who pays for the charging?
Right. That is the question of the day. So for a long time, we were just letting them plug in. Like, of course, we got the vehicles before we got the chargers, because none of this ever goes the way that you expect it to. So we just had a plug that they were plugging into. We now have an actual charger, but they did not buy the software that goes with the charger, and so we cannot limit it to only city staff or tell who's charging how much. And I am already very worked up about the power bill at the library, and the city is very aware of that. So they are looking into, we have more chargers coming. They're also installing these over the city, so this is not just the library. I'm trying to be cooperative without giving up all of our garage space and all of our money for the power bill. They don't use a ton of power, so like I don't know that it's worth getting worked up about exactly yet. But long term, for sure, we need to know, like, it needs to be billed back to the right department. The 2 chargers that are coming, Kevin's very involved in this, which helps keep me informed. 2 chargers that are on the way do have software, 1-year software, and so I believe with those, you can get an RFID card fob, and it will turn it on, track who you are, track how much power you're taking from it, which will solve 2 of the problems that we have. I think right now, Gabe from Building Inspection has an app on his phone that is telling him how many kilowatts it's using, so I think we'll track it that way. Again, Misty from the finance director knows that this is on my mind and that we have to figure it out. So we'll get there. We will get there, I think. So it's going to be the first angle in spot when you come around the back of the garage, which I think is not anybody's favorite anyway, so I think that's a good one. And then you can also get to it from Kevin's truck, parks down there. Kevin is getting a new Lightning that we'll need to charge, but I don't know if the charger that they installed is strong enough. I don't know. This is all very interesting and very much being worked out as it's happening. So,
is it clear that it's only supposed to be for city
yes.
vehicles? Okay.
Yes. And honestly, like when we're open, I mean, I think we would notice. We've got security cameras down there that I have up most of the time. So I think if a random person pulled in there and plugged in, and finance director asked how the sign was worded, that it shouldn't say City of Fitchburg, like it needs to say only City of Fitchburg vehicles. And so I think we're as well. If we have to, we can put a padlock on the cord, but it's awkward, and then everybody needs a key. And that gets weird because police are getting vehicles, Public Works is getting vehicles. They do have some, I think, better chargers up at the maintenance facility, and so people have been going up there to charge. This is real interesting to be doing this like while we have the vehicles. Like I wish there was a better way to set this up, but I'm trying to be cooperative. We'll see. But I'm glad we have it.
I'm totally with you, Wendy. I'm totally with you because anything that costs money, right, need to be tracked.
Yes.
In general.
Yes.
Like it might not be anything right now, but
right. Right.
2 years down the road,
I mean, and the way our
right?
power bill in January was $11,000. So like if it's $5 that I can get back, I'll take it. So yes, we will get this worked out. I know we will. Misty's on this. Like we just don't have the tools we need yet because nobody knows how this happens until you have all the parts. So we'll figure it out. The battery backup was installed. This is the least exciting thing we've ever done in the building for $8,000. But now, when the power goes out, which, I mean, we had a day today, so like I sort of appreciated that if the power goes out, we'll have 30 minutes of emergency lighting to get out of the building. So we won't have to do that for another 15 years. Happy about that. I think that is all I have to say for facilities. Is that true? I think so. Personnel, we have an LA1 opening. We have a 10-year employee that gave her resignation. She's been working here and at Madison Public, and she's been working more than 8 hours a week, and I think not having no days off. So don't blame her at all. Sad to see her go. We opened the position internally. We had someone else in the same position take her hours, and then we opened the other position internally, and we are doing interviews as they come through. So I'm hopeful that we can fill that internally and not have to wait and do it externally. Strategic planning, we had a very productive meeting today. We have decided on the core committee is the managers and Tim, and we are splitting up the survey part of it and the data collection part of it, 2 managers on each, although we're all going to work on it together, but they're gonna sort of lead it. So both of those things are in process right now, trying to decide what kind of survey we want to do, what we want to ask, and then doing a lot of demographic research. So that is on its way, and I'm happy to say that. It's been kind of a slow start. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Wendy.
Yeah.
Announcements. The next library board meeting will be April 16th here in the library meeting room. And finally, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, y'all just want to stay here. That's nice.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jim. All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Good long meeting.
Hey, Jim.